Hey, it's Matt. Welcome back. Today I have a thrift haul here for you that I picked up for $9. I think I did pretty good on this one. We have some cool stuff inside of here, some old sockets, old Snap-on stuff. So let's dig into this and see if it was worth the money. Now, if you noticed, I have my gloves on, which I don't normally do. I'm not a hypochondriac or anything like that, but this tool was especially nasty. This cord was white when I got this thing. So it definitely had some biologicals on it. It was moldy. It was like a fifth grade science experiment on this cord here. So I sprayed that down. I wiped it down, but it reminded me of a story. So we're going to have a little segment called Story Time. So let's get into this thing. I'm going to move this off to the side. I'm going to pull all this stuff out of here and lay it out here while I tell this story. So I don't think I've mentioned this, but one of my previous jobs was a repair person at a small automotive tool shop. So I used to repair pneumatic and electric impacts, screwdrivers, whatever, anything. Brands, Ingersoll Rand, that's where I got this thing from. Ingersoll Rand, Chicago Pneumatic, Milwaukee, DeWalt, Makita, stuff like that. So I used to repair all that stuff. Sunex, which Cornwell tools, Cornwell impacts for Sunex. So I used to repair all of those. And it was a lot of tool truck guys that would drop off tools on their route. So they would go through their routes, they would stop at different shops, and the technicians there would say, hey, can you fix this? And they would say, oh yeah, and they would bring it to us, and we would fix it. It's kind of a racket. I'll do another video on that maybe if you want me to give you the secrets of the tool truck trade. I'm sure people have done plenty of videos on that, but I think I offer a unique perspective on it. But anyway, back to this disgusting story. So these tool truck guys would drop off a bunch of tools to us, and one day we went into the shop, and it smelled like a dead animal, and we figured that a raccoon got up in the ceiling or something and died up there. So we searched and searched and searched, and we couldn't find anything. So I went over to the tool shelf to just start the day and say, well, whatever, we're just going to have to work with it, deal with it. And when I was grabbing tools off of the shelf, I realized that that's where the smell was coming from, this shelf full of tools, and we would rotate it. So we were about a week behind. So this guy had dropped off these tools about 5 days before the smell started to emanate from this shelf. So we figured out where the tools were from, what tool truck guy they were from, and I gave him a call and I said, hey man, where are these tools from? And he asked me why, with kind of a chuckle. And I said, because this whole place smells like a dead animal in here. And he just laughed. And I said, why are you laughing, man? And he said, well, those tools, they came from the rendering plant. If you don't know what a rendering plant is, go look it up. I'm not going to explain it to you here. But needless to say, all of those tools had to be, well, let's see here, dipped in buckets of bleach because they just reeked. So I disassembled them, threw them in 5-gallon buckets of bleach. There was about 5 or 6 of them, and they were like a Ingersoll Rand 261 aluminum body, like heavy tools, 3/4 drive. So yeah, we had to take all the tools apart and stick them outside for a couple of days in bleach water because it pretty much made the whole shop uninhabitable. So there's my story of the day. And just a word of advice, I know I've mentioned this in other videos before, you never know what you're touching, you never know where these tools were, you don't know if they were in a flood that was caused by sewage water or if it was just rainwater. If you see a pile of junk on the side of the road and you think, oh cool, you know, a new couch, that thing could have been saturated in who knows what, you don't know where it came from. So just be careful, be aware of that. I always keep a pair of gloves or a box of gloves in my vehicle in case I find something that is somewhat questionable. But just be aware of those things, because I don't know what I touched. You know, I logged those tools in. They didn't smell when they came in. So they were probably in a refrigerated area, and it just took the 2 days of them sitting on the shelf for the heat to get to them and for, you know, the rendering process to, you know, proceed. And yeah, I had to deal with that. So let's get to these tools. Let's see what we have here. First off, you know, the Thor, it's a Model 60. The label or the tag is in pretty good shape. This thing is a little corroded, you know, it doesn't look horrible. Somebody could probably do a pretty good polish job on this. I'm not going to do this. I plugged this in. It does run. I haven't tried it. I'll bring it out to the garage and put it on a lug nut, and I'll put a note in here and let you know if it in fact is good or not. But this thing came with some other goodies. It came with some sockets that are Thor brand sockets. So I'm assuming that this impact came with a set of sockets. So we have a couple of those. I think we have 4. And then we have some other sockets that are just different brands. We have ourselves a Duro and Destro. I think that's what this is. It has a D-I, and I mean, I just recognize it as a Duro or an Indestro. So I've never seen the D with the -I. It usually says Duro or Indestro on it. So that's kind of unique. Doesn't look like it has a finish on it. So this may be a war era thing where they just combine Duro and Indestro. I really haven't looked into it, but 1/2-inch drive, inch and what was that? 1.125. And then we have a drag link socket that is a Walden Wooster. So that is pretty cool. A little dingy, but not too bad. We'll go over here, an SK socket. Nothing too special over here. A 1-inch. And these are the old SK sockets, I believe. These have a dash after the number, not a dot, but there is a little dot down there. I don't know. But a couple of those older SK sockets from the 20s. And then we have a bunch of Craftsman double line V impact sockets. So that's pretty cool. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And we have this Cornwell 3/4 1/2-inch drive double square. And it looks like it's an impact. It's thick, pretty thick wall, so probably an impact Cornwell socket there. So that's pretty cool. But the best stuff is over here. I guess this isn't really the best stuff, but this is a Supreme. I think Jacobs makes Supreme. I'm not sure. I don't recall. Yeah, Supreme right there, and it's like a CW5S5 or something like that. And this is an impact chuck. I don't know if you'd use this for drilling, like, you know, masonry drill bits, to have like a hammer drill, because I don't know if they had hammer drills back then, so I don't know if this was the solution to that, is to put one of these on an impact. So not really too sure. I've never had to use one of these, but if you know, put it down in the comments. Let me know. Have you ever used one of these big old impact chucks? I don't know, but I'll hang on to that. Those are pretty pricey. That one's probably not worth much because it's all rusted and pitted out. But got a chuck key for, well, I don't know why we had that. Doesn't need one. It was in there. Whatever. Got this cool little case. Whitman's Cafe. Lil and Buster, 143 South Jefferson, Lancaster, Wisconsin. And this is filled with some hex keys. And if you don't know what this case is, you've probably never smoked before. This is a hard pack case. Before they made hard packs, cigarettes just had soft packs. So their solution to that was to just make these plastic cases. And then they came out with hard packs, so people who bought hard packs didn't need these anymore. So this is kind of a cool, local-ish kind of little piece. So I'll probably hang on to that. Pretty neat little part of history there. And I think I looked up that place. I don't think it's there anymore. But over here we have why I bought this. I didn't buy this because I wanted this. I looked in there, I saw all these sockets. I'm like, yeah, these are cool. It's all right, you know. But these sockets over here and this piece right here really makes it worthwhile. We got ourselves a Snapon 67A. We got the 7 there. This is from 1947. And this is a ratcheting, an adapter for a breaker bar. You put this on a breaker bar, and it turns your breaker bar into a ratchet. And it functions. It is good. So that is pretty cool. That is worth a couple of bucks there, definitely. Could sell that fairly easily. And then we have all these other Snap-on sockets. We have this one, which is fairly old. I don't know if I got the date off of this one, but this is going to be early 30s on that socket. But the rest of these are some 20s sockets, and these are really cool. These are fairly old, and I don't recall if I got the date off of any of these. They're fairly rusty where the date stamp is, so let's take a look at these. I think I do have one that's an S/O, but I want to say these are around 1927 or so. But these are 1/2-inch drive. They're not like the 5/8 like I got before. And these are a little bit later than those because they aren't the S over O. And they have the part number on there. You see it's got that part number on there. So these are later. This might be like a 1929 or something, somewhere around there. Because they didn't start putting the numbers of the sockets on there until later, but the design of these sockets is the 20s design. So I don't know how far into the 30s this design went. I don't think it went too far, because I have a 1930 socket that is like this. So I guess it depends on the line maybe too when they swapped over. But they're pretty dingy, hard to read the date on there, and I guess I don't have any S over O's, but these are pretty sweet. This is why I snagged this up. I think this is definitely worth double what I paid for it for sure. And then everything else is just a bonus. So hopefully this thing works. I'm not really too interested in this. It would be cool to polish this thing up. It looked fairly cool. But I'm sure there's someone out there who collects Thor and would want to do that themselves. I'm not going to do it. It's going to take a lot of time to polish this thing up. But for something I'm not too interested in, I do like this tag. I like the green on there, and it's a cool looking impact. But I think I'll pass this on to somebody who's going to enjoy it a little bit more than I will. I'll probably hang on to these Craftsman impacts, and then the rest of this stuff, I might hang on to that Cornwell. I'll probably hang on to most of this stuff. I'll sell those Thor sockets with this in this case, and then the rest of this stuff is kind of just collector. I think I have one of these in a war era, so I might sell that. I don't think I need one of those. Tried to sell that Walden drag link socket, but I've had one on eBay for quite a while, and people don't use them that often anymore. So not really a quick sell item, kind of more of a collector thing for someone who's into Walden. But anyway, what do you think? $9. I think I did pretty good. This case isn't in that bad a shape, but I think I did all right for $9. Let me know, what was your favorite tool? Put it down in the comments. Like, subscribe, doesn't cost you anything. And have a good one. I'll see you maybe next week if I find some good stuff. Have a good one.